Today on the Ave Podcast is dedicated to hoops of all kinds. If you're a hoops lover, you're going to enjoy this one. I'm joined by O'Neil Kamaka, co-founder of the Skills Refinement Group, and Randall Walter, head coach of Excel Hoops Prep Basketball Program, as we discuss the world of AAU basketball post-COVID and the ripple effects of student athletes having their seasons canceled last year living in Canada, and how it's changed recruiting and the AAU season this summer. And also, as this was originally recorded last week during the draft, we get into our surprise selections of the draft, the Raptors grabbing Scottie Barnes. We share our thoughts on Joshua Primo's shocking lottery selection, the Westbrook trade to the Lakers, and way more than that. Now, as you know, South Shore Ave is available on all platforms. You can also watch this episode on my South Shore Ave YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button, the like button, the favorite button. Basically every other selection that grants my shows, love and support. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, I know that you're a multitasker. And you know how to listen and click on all 5 stars at the same damn time. So you know what to do. You know what to do. Right? So do it. And check out SouthShoreAve.com for all of my past episodes that lives in my catalog. I would say check it out after you listen to or watch this last one. But go ahead and check it out on SouthShoreAve.com. Once again, that's SouthShoreAve.com. It's the Ave Podcast with Cal C on South Shore Ave Radio. Let's work.
Welcome to the Ave Podcast with Cal C on South Shore Ave Radio.
Welcome to the Ave Podcast. My first guest is the co-owner of the Skills Refinement Group and coach of the Vaughan Panthers, AAU Vaughan Panthers. Please welcome O'Neil Kamaka to the show. How you doing today, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Was it Oakwood Elite? Oakwood alumni?
Oakwood alumni, Oakwood Elite, Oakwood Collegiate, whatever you want to call us.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
Sir.
Given the respect. I mean, I come from the Eastern background, but our school doesn't exist anymore, so,
Yeah, Eastern Community Center.
Hey, stop it. And my next guest is the head coach of Excel Hoops Prep Basketball Program, and is still the reigning CFO of Team Light Skin Organization. Please welcome Randall Walter to the show. How you doing today, sir?
Y'all know what it is, man. Bada bing, bada boom. I'm following up with the great O'Neil, man. I'm so blessed right now, man. What do I owe this pleasure?
You're a joker.
Right now, man.
You're a joker.
You know what I mean? I'm just trying to get it how you guys live.
Whatever, man.
Yo, so this is a mismatch of topics and conversation because we're recording this right when the draft is happening. So there's a lot of stuff that's been happening between, potential trades. The Westbrook trade to LA just went down. We got the Olympics happening. The free agency is about to start. But the Raptors, just to start off here, just to celebrate this draft mode that we're in. The Raptors selected Scottie Barnes, the number 4 pick. I know it's kind of surprising to some people, even myself a little bit, because I thought they're probably going to go with Suggs, but they're picking up Scottie Barnes. What are you guys' thoughts on that selection? I got nothing to say because I'm still in that Masabi trust mode, so I don't got too much to say negative on that. But what are you guys' thoughts? O'Neil, start with you.
I love it. I loved it. I was talking to somebody. I'm in a chat group, and that's one. Obviously talking about the draft coming up, and I think it was Scottie Barnes or Bo Knight was one of the 2 names that were like you should go after, or the Raptors should go after.
I really like Bo Knight.
Yeah, so I'm so happy that they chose Scottie Barnes, and here's why. Like these, for me, the things that I like to look for, is what one of the big intangibles for Scottie Barnes, which is his motor. People like he has a great motor, and he's coming from Florida State, playing what's the coach's name again?
It's Leonard Hamilton.
Leonard Hamilton.
Dogs.
And that's what the Raptors need, a dog. And you hear he's athletic. He's a great defender, guard 1 to 5. So those are the things that you can't teach. And yeah, he's not a great shooter, Teach him how to shoot. That's what, everybody, all I'm hearing is how the Raptors have a great development system. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Get him in the gym, work on his shot, get some shots up. You're going to be watching tape, learning the game. So that's why I'm excited. And when players have, in my experience, when players have high motors, that means they work hard. And so if a player works hard, then all you have to do is just give him the information. Here's give him the information, and hopefully he's going to work hard. So he's going to take it and try to get better. So I thought it's a great pick. 6'9", he could pass, he could play defense, and he competes. So I love it. And also because we're so loaded at those small guards, like we have Van Fleet, we have Kyle, and then our draft pick from last year, and Flynn, yeah, Malachi, and so
Trent, Gary Trent, if they resign him back, with
Gary Trent, you know what I mean? So let's go with somebody like why if we're gonna get Suggs, that's like 4 or 5 guys at the same height, same position. Let's go with Scottie Barnes, who's a little bit versatile. And could do a little bit of everything and guard different positions.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Small, you can do different stuff with him. So I like that. Go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not mad at the pick, but O'Neil, I'll pivot on that a little bit because I'm a win now type of guy. I rather pick the talent that I think is going to help us win now. You pick when you draft in my opinion, and this is up for subject, right? I'm not saying I'm Masai Ujiri. But I would have picked Suggs. That's me, right? If I was in the draft room. But again, I've heard Scottie Barnes moving up the draft board, and we all heard about it, how his workouts were phenomenal. And I'm not mad at the pick, don't get me wrong now. I just think that if we could have got Scottie Barnes at 5 or 6. And if that was the case, I would have thought we could have worked the deal with Orlando maybe to get something out of it, right? We need a big. Maybe we could have parlayed, some type of trade to move down to the draft and get what's the big African they got at center? What's his name?
The Magics or
the Magic?
Oh,
Bamba.
Yeah, Bamba or something. We could have got something back, I think, in return, right? I'm not mad at it. Like you said, you pointed out everything that we do well. I think Masai's known for pulling off the unorthodox. It shocked a lot of people, but it's not overtly shocking because, Scottie's been moving up the draft board, like I said, and he showed out well. He has all the intangibles. He's kind of like, to me, an OG 2.0, that type of player that's going to – and you know what? The other thing he does, board man gets paid, y'all. He's going to grab you them boards at that position, whether it's a 2 to 3, or whatever they just stick him at. He's kind of like OG. You can move him around in between the 2 to 4. Great size, great athleticism. My only concern is that he just didn't show out at Florida State to me.
Yeah.
He didn't show out. Yeah, he hustled. Though that's given with his natural attributes. But he didn't show out. His stats were garbage, right?
His biggest knock is he can't shoot. That's his biggest knock. He can't shoot.
Can't create a shot. He can't shoot. So maybe 2-3 years, I'll be looking back at this pod and saying, "Yo, you
good playmaker though."
Yeah.
He's all right. But I mean, Suggs is better.
Yeah, I mean, I think because you're gonna have Fred VanVleet taking the shots. You're gonna have, Larry taking the shots.
Larry ain't coming back, man. Larry's gone.
Sure, is he?
Larry's gone. Fred VanVleet is not a point guard. He's just too trapped in a point guard's body. Right. More of a shooter. We know
what I'm saying. So he's looking to shoot. So. Right now, Scottie could play some defense, right? Play some defense, get some rebounds.
Yeah, I'm not mad at it. I just think he could have done. I just feel like there's something we're missing right now. Yeah, that's gonna be like the aha moment where Masai's gonna be like, "Y'all didn't trust me, man."
Right.
Come on,
right.
I got y'all, right? Like
Masai's gonna pull.
I'm not a fan of Gary. I like Gary Trent Jr. I just don't think he's more that like 6-man role, like that type of guy, the microwave that comes off the bench and just gets you buckets. Yeah. I'm not a fan of him starting. I'd rather have get a solid point guard that can come in. Maybe Kyle's coming back. We don't know.
Yeah. He reminds me of Gary Trent. He reminds me of J.R. Smith a little bit.
Right? Yeah.
Without the knucklehead in this.
Yeah, without the knucklehead in this, but he kind of like that guy. reminds me of his games like that.
Because he can come in and get buckets like fast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Microwave.
Microwave. He check real quick.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put him in. He's gonna. He could play with starting line. He doesn't. He's that type of guy like with Boucher off the bench with him. He's just gonna be buckets, right?
Yeah. Bring him off the bench so he can jack up as many shots as he wants.
Exactly. I'm all good with that.
That's true.
The thing with Masai though, that you look at historically, like when he wants his guy, and he has somebody like in mind, even if it's like out of the box, like as we know, he's not afraid to make those moves. Like back in 2013, he tried to go after Giannis. He tried to make trades right to the last minute. It just didn't work. I don't even think they had a draft pick that year, but he was working his way to try to get Giannis. He tried with Bruno. I think that was like the next like chance to do it. That didn't work. But then he struck gold with Siakam and then with OG. And I say that because they won a chip for those guys, right? So. Yeah, so seeing in this kind of mold again, it's like he kind of fits that kind of like, we don't know where he can go. Like if he develops the skills, maybe he could be a guard. You know what I mean? If he,
right.
Or if he can, but he could also be like a strong forward. Like we don't know, right? But it's those kind of players that sometimes you want. Like as O'Neil's touching to what O'Neil's saying, like with a high motor. You just don't know where it can go, right? If the kid is positive and he works hard, you just don't know where that's going to take you.
And you don't even probably with somebody like the thing about high motor guys is, and as you mentioned, Coach, is that he gets rebounds, and sometimes you don't necessarily, especially as a rookie, you don't have to run anything for him. Just let him play defense, go crash the glass, get some rebounds, get some putbacks. You get your points that way. Run the floor, start the break. Yeah. So
easiest way to get points in basketball.
Exactly. And with his he has a high motor. He's athletic. He's long. So that's easy. As a rookie, and that's how you work him in. You know what I mean? You utilize him that way until his jump shot comes along, right? So I like it. I like the pick.
So I wish you could have got Mobley though, but obviously
that would have been good too. Yeah,
that'd been ideal. Yeah. We tried, but again, now that the Cavs drafted Mobley, are they going to try to go after like spend all that money to get Allen?
Well, they already have him. It's whether they want to re-sign him to. They wanted to give him like $25 a year, right? Like $100 million deal.
Yeah.
Right, but is he a restricted free or
yeah, he's a restricted.
Restricted. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well.
It's a good line. Like you have him and Mobley and what's the other kid from Okoro from Auburn, who I thought like had a nice year last year too.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty good front line, man. Like going forward, especially defensively. Mm-hmm. And we all like Mobley. You know what I mean? So it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But they definitely tried. Was there any? Let's talk about Primo a bit, man. Like Josh Primo, the fact that he surprised everybody and got drafted 12th overall, lottery pick, by a sound foundation, the Spurs, which is like, it's basically like being drafted by the Patriots. So O'Neil, because I'm gonna show you the love today that he's a Oakwood Collegiate alumnus. What were your thoughts on his game? Like, just tell people who don't know about him, like, what do you think about his game and all that?
When we had him, so as I was saying earlier, we had Josh in grade 9, and Josh was about 6'2", right? And great kid. You could see great feel for the game. He could play, get to the rim, But again, he had the baby face, 6'2". So you knew the potential was there. You could see it in his game, the way he shot the ball. So we were very excited for him. We even, as a grade 9, we actually went to Ofsa that year and we brought him with us. So we Anthony Miller, head coach, and I, we loved Josh. When we had him at Oakland, we obviously hoped that we could have had him for one more year, but his dad, they moved him to another school and it worked out. It's perfect. Sorry, and it was great, and I was so shocked and I was so happy watching him at Alabama. A great catch and shoot. first year, he kept it simple. Didn't try to do too much. Hit him on the wing, catch and shoot. You know, a couple of times he tried to make one dribble, two dribble, get to the rim, make a play. But I am so happy for him. Everybody had him going late first round, early second. But everything that I was hearing from the pre-draft workouts was that he was just shooting the lights out. And of course, we know he got that from Oakwood, because that's what we do at Oakwood. We just snipers.
Yeah, you know what it is.
I'm gonna give you your roses today.
What I tell you, man.
No comeback out of me today. No comeback.
So I wasn't surprised at that point, but yeah, I was just hearing, and that people just loving him, man. They were just loving him. The fact that he's young, and his skill set, and just his intangible. He's just a great kid, and he works hard, and he wants it. So I was so surprised. I'm so happy. I'm really, really so happy for him. Like, he's a lottery pick. It's amazing.
Man, that's beautiful. What do you think of? What do you think of? It's a beautiful story, but what do you think about it, Randall?
Man, I'm just shocked they went that high at him. Like he must have done something in that workout for San Antonio for Pop to say, nah, we going, because he was projected. Like, the one thing I give him props for is he was projected to go in the second round. Like, I would say even mid-second round initially, right? Mm-hmm. For all intents and purposes, his workout was just through the roof. Everybody was talking about his workout. Just like, and O'Neil said it, like he was shooting the ball well. He just projected very well. His athleticism was through the roof. And then when he played in those the pre-draft workouts of scrimmages, he put it in that work. Yeah, right. So one of two things. It shows me that Alabama had no fucking clue what they were doing with him. Or two, that my man just. My man's a young boy. My man's only 18 years old. Yep. So, like, that already showing you that he has upside. Yep. So, either that or he was just so young that he just started kind of peaking late. So, one of the two. And I'm taking, because he went to Oakwood, Oak Hill, sorry, I'm going with O'Neil. O'Neil developed him, and Bama just sat there and just shitting him away, right? But if my man Dwayne Washington was on here, my man Dwayne would tell you he did all the work. Yeah, I don't know what Dwayne does. You know what I mean? Dwayne does all the work. He puts in that work. You know what I mean? He's in the gym. You know what I mean?
But I like that point though. Like, when I saw him playing at Alabama, and I get it. He's a freshman, so it's like, they don't want to do, but the kid could play, and he showed it. He was showing it, glimpses. I think he made good decisions. He wasn't over dribbling the basketball. He attacked, shot fake, attack, made some good decisions. So I thought, as the season went on, maybe they'll loosen the reins more and encourage him to do more. But you know what? The skill that's in the NBA right now that's coveted is shooting the basketball. So he's doing that great. He has a great size at 6'6", and he's athletic, and he's just a sponge, and he's a great kid. That's what I love about it. Like, kid, what they're gonna give him, he's just gonna eat it up. And I was saying earlier to Calvin, like, his dad used to work out, be a bodybuilder, big dude, right? So once he stops going vertically, then he's gonna start filling out. And then once and you, like Giannis. Remember Giannis came in the league 6'9", 100 pounds wet. Now Giannis is going through guys like they're butter, and that's the thing with that I'm so excited for Josh, is that once he stops growing and fills out, he gets stronger. His range is going to extend, and then he's just going to body guys, just a little bump, boom, dunk on guys. So I'm excited to see, to see where it goes. And I think the Spurs, that was a great pickup. I'm so happy, so happy.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what this thing with Pop, right? Like I said before, like, they're the NBA versions of the Patriots. And anytime a coach like that wants you, especially at that age, you're like, okay, this kid is legit. In fact, I was telling the story offline where when Corey Joseph got drafted by him, and everybody was like, wow, this kid left too early and all this stuff. And then as soon as Pop drafted him late in the first round, you're just like, okay, he's going to be a player. He's going to be fine.
Yeah.
It's almost like if you listen to what Pop and the organization is saying, and the coaching staff is saying what they provide to you, as long as you follow the details, you're gonna be a veteran in the league. With not a star, you're gonna at the very least, you're gonna be a long-time veteran.
Exactly.
Everybody who follows that, they're in the league for 10, 12 years.
All you got to do is get to your second contract. And with the Spurs, that's what's going to happen. He's going to get to his second contract. He's going to be good. And again, he's a great kid, man. And I'm so happy. Athletic, 6'6", can shoot. And he's a great kid. He's a sponge. It's a coach's dream to get something.
And O'Neil, he's the youngest player in the draft.
Yeah.
That's putting out. I mean, it is what it is. Like
the baby. Oh, forget Steph Curry. He's now the baby face assassin. Looks like he's 12 years old. I'm so happy for him, man. It's a great pickup. I'm happy for him.
And what's crazy, what you're saying, if he gets this, by the time he gets to the second contract, what is he, like 22?
Yeah, he's going to be a killer.
He's going to be a kid. If he does this right, there's at least 3 to 4 contracts.
Yeah.
He's going to get, and I mean, God forbid if he's a star.
Yeah. And you know what's even more amazing is the fact that, and it's a great story because, his mom passed away when he was at a very young age, and he was raised by his dad and his siblings. So that's why even more so it's great when great things happen to good people like Josh. And so I'm so happy for him, man. So happy. This made my night, my week. I'm just so happy.
You're good.
Man.
Now, the only other person is AJ Lawson. If he could get drafted in the first round,
that's my guy. My guy.
Yeah, that if he could get
drafted in that work.
Yeah, man. That kid, I've known that kid from he was in grade 7. His
dad, man.
Yeah, man. Love AJ. Love senior. If he could get drafted in the first round, that. I
think that's why we're watching this while this is happening. This is part of the reason.
Yeah, I'm taking looks, man. I'm trying to see my man AJ.
Yeah, I want AJ to get drafted, man. He just
and AJ's putting out, man. Like the one thing, he's like a Primo story, right? Like went to the wrong. I say it all the time. I said so. He went to the wrong school. Went to South Carolina.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Just didn't fit the system.
Yeah,
coach fucked him around, and he should have showed out. Like he was like projected to be a one and done at one point, right?
Yeah.
And spent 3 years there with the stock fell, but when he went to them workouts,
he was killing.
And
it was the same thing.
Mamba mentality.
Yeah, man.
Like work on him.
When he was coming out, Basketball Without Borders, all those showcase camps, he was killing. Like I know people that were telling me like, yo, AJ Lawson, yo, Kamaka, this guy's nice. Like people I know that he was killing. And his stock kind of fell a little bit, but his work ethic, and he showed up, man. This kid, again, he could play defense. He's gonna run. You could move him 1, 2, or 3. He can shoot the ball, push the ball on the break, makes great decision, great
transition player. Woo!
Yeah, great transition. Somebody he has
got to work on his hands a little bit more, but that will come.
Yeah, man. Like I don't know these guys. You got to take somebody. Somebody like AJ, you don't pass up on. Like that kid is a winner. He's gonna help you win basketball games. And again, a great kid. You don't have to worry about him. He's not a
great kid.
Yeah, man.
No.
So.
Hey, one question for y'all, man. What's the deal with that? I can't even pronounce his name.
I was gonna mention the kid from Oregon, right?
Oregon, is it
Eugene?
Eugene.
I'm in Uri.
Yeah. They say that he's from. Is he Canadian? Is he from Montreal? Or is he just like?
No. Eugene. So funny story.
Dominicano.
No, that's Duarte. Oh, you talking about Duarte?
You talking about Duarte?
Duarte.
Okay, Duarte. So
not
Duarte,
Eugene, not that Eugene, not that the other.
Chris Duarte. So Chris Duarte was born in Montreal, and he went and lived in Puerto Plata, Dominican Republic. So he grew up there. And he claims Dominican Republic citizen, probably parents, whatever. So no, cool. Yeah, because people I'm like, I mean, he was born. How long did he live in Montreal for? Was it like he was, a couple of months?
Left at like 1 or something.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So is he really Canadian or is he more Dominican? Yeah, he was born here, so technically he's a Canadian citizen because he was born here.
It's the same way like Kyrie Irving was born in Australia, but he's not Australian, right?
Right.
It's the same like Guerrero, whatever, the baseball player from Toronto that's hitting on them home runs, man.
Yeah, but he was actually born. Yeah, because his dad
played for Expos, right?
Yeah, at the tail end of his career, played for the Montreal Expos, and so
he can hardly speak English, man. Hey, man, what's going on, man? Hey.
But he's destroying.
Yeah,
he's destroying though.
But that's a good point because I'm like, I kind of now having been a baseball player, and I used to follow baseball a lot. I know that once baseball season ends, right, guys go back home and they play in the Puerto Rican leagues. So he's probably spent a lot of his time outside of Canada, obviously growing up or whatever. So you're right. It's probably the same thing. He was born here, but obviously grew up, wherever in his, on the islands, wherever they're from, Puerto Rico or Dominican Republic, or wherever. So. And
what about Eugene?
Yeah, Eugene, man. So it's funny because obviously he's a Rexdale kid. I actually, so he played for Philip Dixon for Mississauga Wolverines, and then he played for Vaughan Panthers for.
Did he play for Chris too at Motion?
Yes, he played for Chris at Motion, and he went to West Humber, and then and then he ended up playing for Vaughan Panthers for Tony Jackson, who this past summer. Yeah, and then I remember I worked him out. I worked Eugene, but Eugene was in grade 10, and actually Tony reminded me. He goes, "Yeah, you worked him out because Tony, I was at George Brown coaching, and Tony asked me to work out some guys, so I worked him out." But yeah, Tony always kept telling me about him, like O'Neil, like. When he was at Rutgers, he's like, Eugene's doing great. And, he left Rutgers and went to Oregon, and watching him play. And I'm like, this kid could play. Yeah. And right away, what jumped out at me is I'm like, this kid could be a Draymond Green, same size, could push the ball, great feel for the game, great basketball IQ. And he shoots the ball better than Draymond. He has better mechanics. He's more athletic than Draymond. So again, I'm like, what am I missing? Like, somebody better grab this guy. These guys, you know what it was like too? It was like the same thing with Lugan Dortz, right?
Yeah.
I remember watching Luke Dortz, and I was actually at the draft when he got drafted. I was at a couple years ago with draft that RJ was in and Zion.
Yeah, he didn't get drafted, right?
He didn't get drafted. I couldn't believe. I'm like,
yeah, I was shocked at that.
This guy, I'm like,
but they said, but O'Neil, he had offers to get drafted. He was like, at that point, he already had like known that he was gonna get signed, and he knew he was gonna make more money even though he signed.
Being a free agent,
he thought he spent exactly he signed more money. I think that was kind of what happened there, and I think unfortunately for Eugene, I think I'm not sure he's a fringe player to get drafted in the second round. Yeah. But like him and AJ, if they don't get drafted, those two guys are going to be on NBA rosters. Anyway.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Either on a two-way immediately. Like they're like they showed out. I don't know if I heard Eugene was up and down in his workouts, but great, like you said, a great kid from Rexdale, got that grit, got all the intangibles. I couldn't have said it better. I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
A Draymond Green type of player, hustler. Just great talent and going to show out.
Jack of all trades. Yeah,
jack of all trades. I could see him going to like a Golden State or someone like that as a backup, right?
And you know what I'm learning? I was listening to one of the shows today, and somebody brought up what you just said. Sometimes it's probably actually better not to get drafted, and then you could go.
You could pick your choice of where you want to go. You have the decision to make. Yeah.
So
you make more money. You pick where you want to go. The right fit.
Plus on top of that, you get to your second contract faster.
That's true.
Right.
If
you're in the situation that you're in.
Yeah. That's true. So you know what? Yeah. So that's good. I just hope they get picked up. I just want them to get picked up.
Yeah. I just wish Dort would have got paid more.
Yeah.
I know.
They flew Dort on that deal, man. I don't know, man. If I was his agent, I would have been that.
Yeah. He definitely got paid more,
or at least have like an opt out, like halfway through that, at the very least. But I get it though, because I always said with him, and I don't know his story in terms of how the contract situation worked out, but he gets to OKC first year. He's on a 2-way contract in between the G League, and the Thunder, and then he gets up there, he's signing multiple 10-day contracts. Then COVID hits. And when you're on that 2-way, you're like 1,000 there still. You know what I mean? You're not a millionaire, and you're sitting on that for because what do you make on a 10-day? Like it's probably like 30,000-40,000 or whatever it is, right? Yeah. Now you're sitting on that money for 4 months. You know what I mean? And now they come to you with like a 4-year contract. That's like the leverage is more in the team's favor. You know what I mean? So it's like, what do you do if you say no? It's like, and you get cut now. What? Like you're still 1,000 there. You know what I mean? Like everything kind of changes. So when I look at the story, I'm like, yeah, I get it. It's just because of the timing of COVID, right? Like it's just it just didn't work out in his favor. Where it's like if he went through the year normal, made the playoffs, had that same impact, he could have just, you know what? No, I'm not going to sign with you guys, and somebody in free agency would have picked him up. For like a 2-3 year deal, whatever it was, even if it's like $10 million total, it would still have been way better than the 2-way contract, right?
Yeah.
Now I feel for him though with that aspect, but I think he's going to be fine. You just wish he didn't have to wait like another 3 years to get to that contract. That's the only thing. Right. So before we move on to like the AAU aspect and all that stuff, who's your favorite? Who do you think is going to be the, I guess, quote unquote, like the star? Or actually, let me frame it a different way. Who do you guys think like maybe is under the radar, or you like not like the Cades and stuff, but like who do you think like, okay, that kid is going to explode out of this draft that maybe not everybody's talking about?
That's a good one.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting.
You know who I haven't seen him play much, but from what I saw him play a little bit is that Australian kid. He's bigger than
his name, Giddey? Josh Giddey or something?
Josh Giddey, yeah.
I kind of like him too.
Yeah, I think out of all the dudes, like that's why they went for gusto on him, because it's kind of like what Masai did with Bruno, when everyone's like, why'd you draft him so high? Because he knew he wouldn't be able to get him in the second round later in the second round because maybe he's gone. And I think it's the same thing with Giddey. It's like, yo, when you jump on that cusp of lower lottery, mid like to lower first round, you got to go for the player you want. And
plus, you got like 85 picks in the next 2 years, so
right.
There you go.
Nah, and I think O'Neil, didn't he play in the U19 Australian?
Yes.
Yeah, he did, and he was my man. There was 2 players on that U19 Australian team that was putting in that work. I believe he was one of them, and there was another light-skinned kid that was long, athletic. I think he's going to be in next year's draft, and he's going to be up there too. Australia got some good development going on, but both of those players really showed out. Outside of that, I'm trying to think. There was a player. There was a guard. And I'm sorry, I am attempting to catch if he got drafted or not. But there was a guard I saw play. I think he played for Illinois. I can't remember his name. I think it was like an African cat. I'm surprised he fell so low in the draft. But I think that cat's going to be another one that kind of like, I'm not saying he's going to be a superstar, y'all, but I think he's going to be like Sexton, like that kind of aggressive, going hard his first year, trying to prove something, and I think he'll show out as well. But yeah,
I think Kuminga. I like Kuminga.
I do too. Did you see some of those Ignite games?
Yep.
Because him and Green, I was like, yo, like right away, I'm like, ooh, those kids can go. But go on.
Yeah, no, I like Kuminga and I like Green. I think those two guys are gonna. I mean, Kate Cunningham's gonna do his thing.
Yeah, I mean,
but I think even Bo Knight, like those explosive guys,
Bo Knight.
Yeah, because you know why? Because I like those New York guards. Those New York guards know how to play, man.
Yeah, they do. But I don't think I think that was like our era. I don't think they show out in this era. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I haven't seen, like, I think they peak in, like, high school, and everyone, they carry that hype into college. Sorry, man, for all my New York listeners. But, yo, man, I've been playing y'all in AAU so long, and I just don't see it. Call it a spade. You can call me out when you see me in down the South. Call it a spade. I don't see it. You got some good New York guards. The guards come out of New York, but I feel like they fall off once they hit the league. Tell me one good New York guard in the last decade from New York.
It's Kemba. That's the only one.
Come on, man. Kemba. And he can stand up. But yo. Is that even a decade?
Yeah. But I do like him though. I do like Bo Knight though.
Yeah.
I do like the athleticism that he comes with though. I would agree with O'Neil with those two. With Kuminga. Like if Golden State decides to keep him, I think that's like just putting him in that culture and just letting him like season in that culture. That's going to be interesting, you know, because I think he's got the size and stuff. Like he's got a body that he can go right now. Like it's not. He's going to get his man strength and stuff, but you don't have to wait like the next few years for him to get like stronger and stuff. I think he can go now, and he's still so young too, right?
Yep. What position is he playing?
He's like 6'6", 6'7".
Yeah, so he's going to be a shooting guard, small forward.
Yeah, he's like 6'7".
It's going to take him a while.
Yeah, athletic, run the floor, could defend.
Yeah, like it'll be interesting because more future wise and stuff. And I guess we got to talk about this whole thing with Westbrook going to the Lakers. Do you guys think this has an impact? I have a feeling there's like a 10% chance it might be a disaster, but 10% chance.
10%. Here's what's gonna happen. As I'm really marinating on it right now, because I wasn't like, you know, it's not like when you hear about the what was happening with, you know, super teams in the past coming together, or, you know, for example, the Brooklyn Nets lately. I was just like, okay, whatever. And then like Mr. Glass is always hurt. What does Chuck call him? Was Chuck new nickname for Anthony Davis? Was it Glass? No, it's something because he's always in a suit. I think because he's always hurt.
Oh, I forgot what he called him.
Yeah, Mr. Glass. You know, I call him Mr. Glass because this guy's always hurt. And Russell Westbrook's always hurt. The way Russell Westbrook plays, he's always having minor knee surgeries every year.
I know.
And so
that adds up.
LeBron is aging out, you know, and LeBron can only do so much. And so it's like, yeah, great. I think they need to add some more pieces, but you know, I'm not getting excited like, oh, it's going to be, you know, they're going to be the team to beat in the West. It's like, cool, you got Westbrook, you know, and now you're going to figure out who's going to dominate the ball more, LeBron or Westbrook. So that's going to be interesting, but I wasn't overly excited or like, oh no, you know, but you know, it's a good trade, I guess, and it makes things interesting in the West because Klay's coming back. You have the Clippers, you know, you have the Utah, you have Denver. You know, some really good teams, right? So, you know, just made the West even again probably the best conference. So we'll see what's up.
My thing is, well, a couple of things. Number one, is Westbrook, you know, going into last season, Westbrook wanted to go back on the team where he was going to be handling the rock, you know, be close to like averaging his triple doubles again. Is that going to be his focus going to LA on top of winning a championship, or does he just not care anymore? He just wants to win. I think that's the number one factor. Is he going to be chasing boards, you know, trying to get boards off Anthony Davis? You know what I mean? Because he wants to uphold this triple double streak. You know what I mean? Like, is that going to be the thing? Like in the regular season, I'm like, I think they'll be fine. You know what I mean? You can use him as the gas for the team because he just has that motor.
Yep.
My biggest thing with Westbrook, and it's the same thing every year, is when the playoffs come, what the decision making is always his downfall. You know what I mean? To me, he's a great player, you know, explosive player. Like he's going to go in the Hall of Fame, obviously, but it's just the decision making is like somebody like LeBron. Being around LeBron, is that going to help him make better decisions, or is he like, you know, that one trick pony where he just has that one track mind, and that's great in a lot of cases, but then playoffs you gotta slow things down a little bit, you know, and just make those certain decisions at the right times, and he's just always on 1,000. Right. You know, so it's like in the regular season they're going to need that, but in the playoffs, like to me, I'm like,
how's he going to adjust?
That's it.
Well, the one thing I can say is that before, remember, like when he first went to Washington, he wasn't getting all those triple doubles. He had to get those triple doubles because Beal was kind of out, and during the end of the season, when making that kind of last playing push, that's kind of what he has to do, and that's the, like you said, you said something that resonates. The one trick pony. That's his game where he carries teams on his own to like mediocrity. I don't, like you said, I don't know if he's going to be able to show out with this team. But one thing I can tell you is that as these, you got Glass Joe and you got, LeBron who's aging out, right? So during those stretches, Westbrook, if he's healthy, he can win games for you just on his own. Playing that triple double way. It's the key you guys said is if they're all healthy, how's it going to fit? Yeah. I honestly thought that Brett, in a perfect world, if LeBron could play more and AD's healthy, that Hield would have been a better fit.
I agree.
I was like, damn, that's a perfect fit.
That's a good pick. That's what I thought too.
Yeah, but then again, guys, Hield's not the pick that's going to carry your team when they both are down. Right. Or one of them's down. Because one of them's going to be down. One of the three is going to be down at one point in time.
Yeah. No, but you can still use Hield because he's such a great catch and shoot guy, right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, maybe there's a play for him, Maybe there's still a play. I don't know. I thought Schroeder or someone for him. I don't know.
I was definitely with you. That got me more excited than the Westbrook, right?
Because same here.
I was like, oh, he's a better Buddy Hield. That guy is just lights out. He's gonna
automatic. He's a bucket certified.
So that got me more excited because to me, Westbrook and LeBron, two dominant guys. They're gonna want the ball in their hand. How's that? And they're not it's not like both of those guys are lights out shooters, right? LeBron he's not a great shooter, but LeBron will hit the shot when he needs to make it. Same thing with Westbrook, but can you really rely on them? Whereas somebody like Buddy Hield, now if you're double teaming Anthony Davis or you're double teaming LeBron, bam, right? Buddy Hield, as soon as it hits his hand, it's gone.
And plus, he can create a shot too.
He can create a shot. So
yeah,
I would have been a little bit more excited about that than Westbrook. But
I agree. Mm-hmm. No, I agree with that. When I saw the Westbrook thing, I just kind of shook my head. I'm like, this is why I'm like, there's a 10%, or maybe if you could bump it up, maybe even 20% chance it's going to be, it may end ugly, Yep.
Well, the other thing you got to look at too is I hope people don't jump all over me for this, but I find him Westbrook just a super duper better version of Schroeder. Right? They kind of play similar, right? Kind of same kind of game, right? Maybe, you know what I mean? Very erratic, play at a very fast pace, just go 100 miles per hour.
Yeah.
He has a little bit of the
dickhead in him. Yeah.
Well, not that. I was going to say he sometimes, I'm wondering on that team, is he going to have a little bit of the Carlton Banks in him, where he's like, no, this is my last shot.
Well, yeah.
And it's gonna hit the shot clock. That's I'm a little worried about that, more than anything else. But I mean, it makes the West more interesting, though. But I agree with you guys. I was more excited for Hield when I heard that. I was like, ooh, that's actually pretty good. Yeah. And I guess going to the Washington side, I was telling O'Neil this earlier, but I'm like, everybody rips Kyle Kuzma. I'm kind of like, I'm kind of interested to see what happens with him. You know what I mean? Because I still think I'm one of those few people that still think he's really talented or has talent, but it's just, he's kind of gone Hollywood. You know what I mean? So going to DC, I mean, DC's not Hollywood, obviously, but I'm like, is he going to carry that same mentality where he's like, he's trying to be on, get into the Kardashian family, is he trying to still live this life, or is he trying to really be an all-star and try to win?
Right.
So I'm interested to see what happens with him now that what he does under LeBron, like outside of LeBron and AD's wing and stuff, right? I want to see what he does there, because I think before LeBron and them guys got there, he, out of all the young talent, of course Ingram was one of them, but I used to look at Kuzma, I'm like, yo, that kid can. I mean, I know he's not a dude. He can score though. That's he can play ball. That kid can play ball.
Yep.
So then when LeBron came, it's he just went down. He didn't know. Not everybody knows how to play with LeBron, right?
Listen, because I'm always having the LeBron, Kobe, MJ debate, and somebody posted something that was really great, very profound. And if you're a role player, if you're just a catch and shoot guy, that your usage rate is already low, you're perfect playing with LeBron James, right? Your numbers will actually probably go up. But if you're a guy that has a high usage rate or need the ball more times than not, your numbers are going to go down. And that's the kind of guy, like it happens with Bosh, it happened with Kevin Love, it happened with Kyrie, right? And with Kuzma, it's the same thing. Before LeBron got there, Kuzma, I thought he was playing well. People thought he was talking to town, see him taking guys off, hitting shots, you know? And then you're right, LeBron comes there, his usage rate goes down. So now, you know, he doesn't know how to fall into that role of just being a catch and shoot guy or 3-and-D guy. He still wants to be the Kuzma on the scorer, and it doesn't work out. So I just thought that's interesting. And you know, like if you have a high usage rate, it's not good to be playing with LeBron. But if you're a solid role player, catch and shoot guy, you know, Caruso plays well.
Yeah, he's perfect.
Carver's plays. All these guys, all these role players,
Mike
they look
Miller,
they look like superstars, right? Because all you gotta do is run to a spot, wait there, LeBron. After he dribbles, the shot clock will pass you the ball, and all you do is catch and shoot. Whereas Kuzma might need it earlier. So, you know, that's a good point. I think when Kuzma leaves and he goes somewhere, you know, he might, depending on the team, he could be a 6-man where he comes off the bench and he can have all the freedom like Jordan Clarkson at Utah to just go nuts, right? Go nuts and you know, lead the second unit in scoring, or you go to a team where they don't have, you know, they need another big time player, and then you can have the freedom again to make mistakes, you know, to get some take some bad shots and not worry about it. So I agree. I think maybe leaving LA would probably be the best thing for him too, right? Because sometimes I always say this, like when I first started teaching, I got into I was teaching at one school for 5 years, and then I had to leave. And when I went to the other school, I actually became a better teacher. Part of it because I was scared. I was like, you know, in my teaching career, and I didn't know I didn't want to leave my school. It was a great school. I enjoyed it there, and I was comfortable there. But leaving, going to this other school, it was unknown, and I really had to lock in. And that was probably the best thing that ever happened to me in my teaching career, leaving the school that I started with, because at some point I got comfortable, probably had some bad habits, right? And, you know, so I think that's the same thing with Kuzma as a player, right? LA's La La Land, right? And probably had to run
caught up.
Yeah, right. And so this would be good for him to you know, to go somewhere new, somewhere fresh, and potentially, you know, help lead a team. So
and plus you get scouted by the Kardashians and the Instagram models and stuff. You're a high lottery pick, depending on how you look, and depending if your head's into that. So it's like you get caught up if you're living in LA real quick, especially when you're on the Lakers and you're winning and it's a high profile team. Dude. Everybody just wants to go there by proxy, right? Yeah,
you're constantly around actors and producers and directors. So somebody's like, yo, come be in my show, come be in my movie or whatever, right? I'm doing this. You want to be part of it, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, you get distracted, man. It's easy.
But you're in Washington now, so it's like, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with Beal, but if Beal's going to be there this season, like, I mean, it wouldn't shock me if you see him averaging like 20 plus next year. Like, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised, to be honest with you. But it all depends on where his head is at.
I agree. DC is a lot different than LA.
DC is a lot different. Chocolate City, though. But it's a lot different.
I went to a quick, when I was 2 years ago when I was coaching with another organization, we went to DC for early in the AAU season, and I ended up meeting up with a friend of mine. So he's friends with Pops Mensah-Bonsu, who played for the Raptors, and his brother Kojo, who's my teammate.
They live in DC.
They live in DC.
Yeah.
At least Pops does, and he's actually Pops' cousin. So I met up with them and we're hanging out. And he took me to a spot. I was like, it was kind of like what club did what was the name of the club that was on Richmond and John? It was like three levels.
Oh, he's talking about
the club
we went.
The club in DC like that. And it's just like
they used to call it DC Live, and they changed it to the
Dream. It was Dream. DC Live.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, wow. It was like just every dance floor was packed.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was bananas. I was like, wow.
DC Live, and they call it DC Dream afterwards.
Yeah. Like, this place is bananas.
Yeah. Me, Randall, we got stories that we can't tell on air. But yeah, it's called Chocolate City for a reason. Yeah. It's a great experience.
Yeah, it wasn't it wasn't like it was it was just a club.
No, but it's just
different levels, and it was packed. Each floor was packed. Like
packed. Let me put in perspective. We went there a few times, but we went there once for New Year's.
Yeah.
So imagine.
Yeah.
Put in perspective.
Yeah. And we were like, this was like when we was all single, no family, no kids. So you can only imagine.
The debauchery that went on.
The stuff that happened, but
I understand you bunch of heathens and sinners. So I got it.
But it's one thing about DC too. I love is like the happy hour spots and stuff like that. That stuff to me, I always thought was like is really cool. When you go there, and it's just everybody's looking like you, and it's like and it's professionals and and all that stuff. You're just like, damn, like this is nice. Like I always said that like. If I was to move to the States, I always said DC would be like a place that I would strongly think about.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
But I would strongly think about it, but I wouldn't. But yeah, New York, Miami, or California, anywhere.
I ain't moving
either
nowhere.
The Bay Area or Southern Cal.
I ain't moving nowhere that got snow.
Nowhere that snow or that got snow. What you say?
That got snow.
That got snow.
I hear you. I hear you with that too. I'm just saying if there was a place that has snow, I'd rather DC because there's snow as much as it does like as opposed to like New York or Northeast or whatever, right?
Right.
So with like the AAU season ending, right? For both of you guys, and I know you O'Neil, like I was gonna ask you to kind of take us behind the curtain of like your experience because I know you were in the States for like basically was like a month or something like that, right?
My team was. I wanted to go, but if I wanted to stay married, I
think we're in the same position, man.
Yeah, so the team was down there for a month. They went down June.
What team on there now?
So because I technically with North Toronto, but obviously they weren't doing anything, and going into 17U. Most of the guys we are really 4 guys that can go. The other guys, they're more Canadian CIS guys. So, and they weren't looking to, they're already looking to go to CIS school. So I just took my guys over to Vaughan Panthers with Tony Jackson, because I know he had some 17U guys, a couple of guys, around 4 guys that can, that were looking to come back for their 5th year and trying to get D1 scholarship. So, and based on everything that was going on with COVID, it was just the easiest thing to do. And because I had the option of going with Red Rush as well in Montreal with my guy.
Oh yeah, my man.
Denver Reed.
Berkey. You don't know Berkey.
Yeah,
Berkey. That's what we okay.
Yeah,
Shout out to Berkey, man. Shout out to Berkey.
Yeah. So, but because initially I was talking to Berkey, but then I was like, you know what? Again, the rules are always changing. We don't know what we're. So it was easier. So I just went with Vaughan, and they went down June 5th, and they stayed at Combine Academy, which was they're ranked number 5 in prep school on a number 5 for prep schools in the United States this past year. They have like 6 guys that are like high D1 players. One of them plays for CP3. So that's they're actually all returning. And so what Combine Academy was doing, it was allowing for different teams. There's baseball that was there. Bounce was down there. Bounce 16U and 15U were down there. So it allowed for different teams, stay at the dorms, work out in the gym. You had access to the gym 24/7. Like literally, a couple of our kids, went into the gym and was like shooting from like 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. It's like, that's crazy. And but yeah, so it was cool. It was a good experience in that sense that they were down there training. Jeff McGinnis, who coaches the national team, so they have like 4 different teams, but the main team that plays in the Geico National Championship, Jeff McGinnis coaches that team. So the first week that they're there, he took them through. He was taking them through workouts and training them, whatever. And yeah, it was, our guys were down there and they trained for the week. And then July, I think it was July 1st and 2nd, there was a tournament. It wasn't during a live period, so it was just a tournament. Our guys played in that just to get some games. And then I went down the following weekend, July 7th to 12th, and we played in the Phenom Hoops that was in South Carolina, just right out of, because we were in North Carolina and it was about an hour away. So just at the state border in South Carolina, in Rock Hill, South Carolina. So that was a cool tournament. It was very big. And then I came back and the guys stayed down there. They stayed at Combine and they drove down 5 hours to Virginia Beach, and then they played. So it was all Phenom hoops. So they played in the Phenom Classic when I was there, and they played in the Phenom 757 in Virginia Beach. And then they went to Vegas, and then they went and played in Vegas. Hold on.
The Fab 48? Is that still going
on? No, they played in the Bigfoot.
Okay.
The Fab 48 had a different name. They didn't play in the Fab 48. They played in the Bigfoot. And so that's what they did. And, it was obviously different than what you normally used to. And a lot of tournaments, you kind of, again, COVID just, everything was up in the air with COVID. And, coaches, in talking to coaches and even tournaments, they weren't sure if they're going to have it because they didn't know if coaches were coming. Right, and then I think at the last second, NCAA was like, okay, we're going to open up live period pretty much until, July, the last weekend of July 22nd, 2026. Yeah.
So O'Neil, let me ask you something, man.
Yes.
From your perspective, we both on the AAU circuit, we both have experience in it. Maybe have different experiences in it. I guess what it comes down to is, I think the landscape of AAU has changed in the last few years, as you know, and I guess my question to you is looking at it from a holistic point of view when you're going down there, and the way that the live periods have changed. You went from a sneaker deal kind of AAU program to kind of more of a grassroots program, and there's nothing wrong with that, but my perspective is, what is the difference in your perspective with the two circuits? Like, could you still get looks? I remember back in the day when I was coaching U19 with Motion and the Tobacco, I'd bring guys down now. You could go and there'd be coaches in the gym because there's different live periods. Now with the live periods truncated, it's like, I mean, honestly, I didn't even go down with you play. I was supposed to be at the U16 team, and I was supposed to head coach it. I didn't go down. So obviously, my wife, I didn't want to spend a month down there. But I wanted to, instead of playing with my grassroots team and bringing them down and wasting all the time, I'd rather have coached the team that was on a sneaker circuit, because that's where you're really getting all the coaches in the gym, the atmosphere, the looks, getting players D1 quicker, better, more efficient, rather than bringing your great team down and going to like you said, Fab 48 now is a watch. I mean, remember way back I went in there, it was
great.
Packed. Now, if you go in there, it's like empty, right? So I'm just wondering what the deal is, right?
100%. And that's exactly when I think of, because when I was with the Kings, we didn't have a shoe deal, and every tournament that we went to, there's coaches. Like I'm seeing when Bobby Hurley was with Buffalo, but I've seen Bobby Hurley, all these coaches on the sideline, just around. Like every tournament, whether it's Pit Jam, whether the two early tournaments in April was Pit Jam and then the one in Indiana, right? And then you have then you have the break. Then you have the break, and then you have a couple in July, and that's where we're going to Vegas with Northern Kings. We're going to Vegas, and then I think we did one more, and again it was just you saw coaches, right? These tournaments, the truth is, no, there wasn't coaches. Like there wasn't a lot of coaches. All the coaches were at the shoe
the shoe
and the
deal.
shoe.
Right?
So if I'm being honest, I'm like EYBL. If you can't get on the EYBL, try
Under Armour,
and then try Adidas.
Yeah, Under Armour, it's Adidas. Yeah.
And here's the reason why, because again, the way things are and the way COVID has changed stuff, you just want to you want to be seen, right? And you want exposure. Like before, for me, it would have been like, let's get a team, let's try to go down there and win. We're gonna, our guys are gonna be seen from the first game, but the further you go, obviously, the more interest coaches are gonna have because they're gonna really, okay, this team's winning. What do they have? Let's look at their players, look at them closely, right? But yeah, from day one, from the first game in the past, you'll be playing in front of coaches. The NY2LA, right, in Milwaukee. We actually won that 2 years ago with the last. But at 15U, we won it. But we're 15U, so coaches weren't really there. And we played on the last day. It was Sunday. No coaches were there. But if it was 16U or 17U, it would have been different. But that's what I thought it would be like this year when we were going down as a non-shoe team. But all the coaches were in Augusta or wherever you play, where Augusta or Texas, where Under Armour was. Right. So that's where all the college coaches were. So I don't know what it's going to be like next year, but I would say if you're not if you don't have a shoe team, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
So how has it changed from basically like pre-COVID, like even from 2019 to like this year, like what was the differences?
It hasn't really changed per se, but what's changed is the dynamics of the live period. So back in I think O'Neil changed like 3 years now. Yeah. So maybe like 3 years ago there was more live periods where coaches can come watch you play during AAU, so they can bounce around to different circuits. Now, if you notice, like I don't know if you're dialed in to what's going on in the AAU circuit, but the last 3 years you'll notice like Peach Jam, I can't remember the Under Armour circuit name, but but all those circuits, like the Adidas 3DD, whatever, they all now are almost in somewhat the same vicinity, so the coaches can kind of, and always around that same time frame, so all the coaches can bounce from you play. It's like they got their schedule. Okay, I'm going to stop off at Adidas. I'm going to go to, we'll stop up at EYBL because that's the king, and then I'll go to Under Armour, and then I'll go to Adidas and see what's there. They kind of go on that kind of circuit, that loop, all within a certain time frame in that live period of time. They're not going to waste their time to go to a small tournament in Vegas anymore.
Because the time period is shorter.
Time period is shorter, and they only got a certain amount of time to look at players. And all those circuits, are kind of, everything's organized and catered for that purpose, right?
Exactly. I know when I was with you play, so you had all the shoe circuit in one city, right? So it was in Indianapolis, Indiana. So, and I remember this because this was RJ's last year when he played, because another player I knew was playing Under Armour. So, and it was interesting because our hotel where we were staying at, we had to drive maybe 20 minutes, half an hour to our gym. But there's a gym that was across the street that was like maybe a 2-minute drive or a 5-minute walk, whatever it is. But that was closer to our hotel, and that was Under Armour. So they had all the shoe circuit in one city, and like you're saying, coaches they'll leave EYBL, go drive over to Under Armour, go drive over, and Adidas was probably playing further somewhere in Indiana, and so you just had, it was easier for the coaches to go around. Everything was just in one spot, or one city, and they could just leave and just drive around and hit up and
see. Even the smaller ones or the smaller shoe deals, you could shoe circuits. You could just bounce right there.
But here's also what's changed. Remember, before, all the shoe circuits will only have 4 tournaments, right? So they'll have their like 2 in April, 1 in May, right? And then maybe 1 in end of June or something like that. And then they'll have their championships. And then, so that's just 1 weekend. And so that left that weekend for the Vegas, the Fab 48. Right. So we're now, none of the shoe tournaments were playing. So now those independent tournaments like the NY2LA or the Vegas one, now you had the NCAA coaches coming there because the shoes, and then you had some of the shoe circuits and some of those teams that were in you had some Under Armour teams or Nike teams or Adidas teams in these tournaments, in these individual tournaments as well, right? So, but what had happened this year was they extended it. At least what UPlay had like sort of a long extension, right? They played like 8 games, 9 games, and then they had a playoffs or whatever it was. So yeah, if you're in a non-shoe tournament, AAU, unless you coaches already, were interested in you and were looking for you, then maybe. But even still, like I know we had one player on our team, and I had sent out the information to his prep coach because he was like, yo, I have these schools want to come and see him. But, I don't know how high he was on their list, in the sense that if they're over here, in Augusta, are they really gonna go fly out or drive whatever, how long ever it's gonna take to come to see where, this kid was the kid that I was coaching playing. So I don't think he was high on their list. There was interest. So it would have been easier, obviously, if we're playing somewhere close to Augusta, or so then they're like, yeah, no problem, I could drive by. But I don't think they're going to go out of their way.
Right.
They're going to check it, yeah.
Yeah, so, I don't know what it's going to be like this year. I'm hoping things are slowly moving back. The thing that I'm interested in, also changed with, remember, NBA Academy as well, right? So NBA Academy, because the NCAA kind of shortened the live periods, and they gave the NBA Academy where,
it's the top 100 players, I guess.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well, no, it's not actually. It
Not
was
really top 100.
No, anybody could apply. Like, you could just put your name in.
And just go.
At least the first year that they did it, I know that we're getting emails for all the players, like, just sign up. And I know only one player took advantage of it. And sure enough, he was getting schools interested in him, right? He went to the Illinois, because they're having an NBA Academy in different parts, and all the D1 coaches were in one spot, right? So that's how NCAA was sort of cutting back on the shoe on the life period. Yeah. So that started a couple years ago. NCAA was cutting back on live periods, and so that's why they kind of extended it this year because of what happened with COVID. But yeah, if you're not in a shoe cup, if you're not EYBL, AAU, or the Gauntlet, but it's more EYBL and AAU, then it's tough, man. It's gonna be tough to get looks from the coaches.
And do you think like, is it going to be like this going forward, or do you just think just because it's COVID's time still, I think everything is a little more truncated?
Yeah, I think it's.
I don't think it's going to go back, because the monopoly now, the shoe companies want the monopoly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So why would they switch the format? Because what it seems like they've done, and you could probably confirm this more than I could, is that they turn those circuits into more like quote unquote leagues. So that they're not like O'Neil said, before it was all truncated into like maybe 1 or 2 weekends. Now it's stretched over every live period.
Yep.
So it's like a league now. Like they like, okay, you win this first session, you go on to the second, or you win the second section, you go to the last section, right? So you got to qualify the Peach Jam. You got to play these 2. You got to qualify for the last, right? So, and then the teams that don't qualify, maybe the last live period, there may be some more tournaments coming on, right? Where they kind of mix match it, right? Where they have like elite teams playing it, like doesn't matter what sneaker deal you're with, they go down to whatever that tournament in Florida now. So I think they're starting stuff like that in per se, but it all matches up with live periods at the end of the day, man.
Yeah. So yeah, and again, the NCAA cut the live periods, and they created they sanctioned where you can go, so they made the NBA Academy. They created that thing. So now you have all the coach, and NCAA was doing that sort of to screw up the shoe companies, right?
Yeah.
They kind of created. So I don't know what's going to happen. That's a great question. I don't know because again, there wasn't the reason why they extended the live period, because the NCAA had cut it. They had cut the live periods in July. And so now they extended it because of COVID, and people are like, you know what, players need more time, so they extend it. But I think they probably will go back to, to shortening the live periods, because you could have tournaments. You could have AAU tournaments as much as you want.
Yeah.
You could have AAU tournaments every day, right? It's just when can coaches come and
Just see it.
sit in the gym and talk to you and see you. So, yeah. So I don't know, man. What I'm trying to do is get players to get connected with showcases like Pango Showcase.
Yeah.
Those are the
But
things.
are those for more younger players?
Pangos does one for I think like, guys going into their last year. I think he does do a late one but most of it for young guys, but
Like seniors to bees.
yeah, but most of it's for young guys, so sophomores, freshmen, sophomores, maybe juniors. So I would, if you're not on a shoe, I would try to get in a Pangos that way, or John Lucas. But yeah, man, if you're not on a shoe team, your grassroots, it's tough.
Yeah, you got to try that, or like the NBA Academy apply.
Yeah,
so
it's tough.
I got one question for y'all. When you play in these AAU circuits, all right, and I think O'Neil, you're in Tiffy's group, so you probably heard this debate going on, and it's an interesting one, right? You go down to these shoe circuits, as we've seen, especially this year, and I think some of it's attributed to COVID. We've seen a lot of teams struggling going down there with losing records and not showing out, right? So the debate is, what program is the best? Everyone's going to have their opinion on, is it EYBL, is it Under Armour, Adidas? We kind of know what it is, but we're not going to get into that debate. That's neither here or there. But the debate is, if you are on one circuit that everyone thinks is inferior and you have a better record, does that make you a better program? A, and B, what matters more? Winning, let's say you win a circuit, or getting more players to the promised land, that's Division One, high-end blue chip Division One, or the league ultimately.
The league eventually.
What in your opinion, both of y'all, what do you think is better? Winning or getting to the promised land?
Getting to the promised land. That's what you're doing it for. Ultimately, and here's why I say that, because I always thought, and Scarlett educated me on this, and I have my bows to pick with you play and Dwayne, but because when I coach to win, right? And that's what I'm coaching, and I know the mentality in the States, that's how it is too. It's to win, and so having played down there and just know the mentality of the players and coaches is to win.
Culture, yeah.
It's the culture. It's winning, right? And winning does help. Winning does help, because even when we're watching the EYBL, there was excitement that the U-Play 17s were doing well and winning. So winning does matter.
Right.
Winning does matter, does play a part. But ultimately, you're doing all of this. You want to win so that coaches can see you, so that you can get the scholarship, so that you get invited to, the Nike 100, Hoop Summit, whatever, right? Basketball Without Borders. So in my mind, I thought, if you're winning and coaches see, because in order to win, you have to do good things. You're scoring the ball, you're making the right plays, you're playing together, you're playing hard, you're doing all the things that go into winning, and coaches will see that and they'll love you.
Good habits.
But what I was educated on, and Scarlett brought up a good point, was really coaches they already know the players that you want. Jerome is in a chat group and Coach Blunt's in a chat group, and they confirm this. Like, really, we're not looking at the team's record. We just know we're looking at the player. We're gonna go check the player, and we want to see if he's a fit for our program. So winning plays. So I would say winning plays a small part, but ultimately to me, AAU is about exposure.
Yeah.
This is how I see AAU. 14, 15. You might want to get exposure for a prep school in the States. You want to go, if they see you at that age, then you can reclass and maybe go to a Huntington or Oak Hill or whatever. Once you get to 16, 17, the exposure you want is D1, to get a D1 scholarship and, to go play for a Power 5 conference if you're good enough, a mid-major if you're good enough. And then ultimately, to get to the NBA. That's how I see AAU. So if you bring down a team at 14, 15U, exposure, you want to get them to see, just get over that the allure of playing against kids in the States. So our Canadian kids get used to playing against them. But also your kids that can go. And prep school is not for everybody. Because when I talk about prep school, I'm not saying every Canadian. Prep school is for the best of the best because steel sharpens steel. So, and one thing I've learned coming up, why if you go down to the States, and a lot of other countries do this, if you take your best and you let them play against the best early, then they're in front of NBA GMs and scouts. So they get invited to Basketball Without Borders. They get invited to Nike Hoop Summit, like AJ Lawson, like Josh Primo, right? Like Keon Ambrose, like Charles Badiako, Jamal Murray, RJ Barrett, Ignas Bedzikias. All these guys, they all got invited to those things, and they're able to play in front of NBA scouts and GMs. So that's what AAU is to me. And so where I did put an onus on winning, because I'm like, yeah, if you win, and it's more important definitely at 16U and 17U, because you're really going up against, every team if you're beating some good teams, you're probably going to get at least one pro. And, Scarlett brought up a good point. He's like, on the EYBL team, every EYBL team has potentially one pro on their team, one NBA guy.
No, so essentially, they normally do.
Exactly.
Because
right?
if you don't, they're going to put, look what happened to, no offense, look what happened to Bounce.
Right, I get it. Exactly. Right? They want winners, and that's another reason. They want high-level players.
Just that they're not winning, they didn't have any
horses, right? Yeah.
Potential leaguers, right?
Yeah. Correct.
Projected leaguers, let's say.
Projected leaguers. Right, because it's best for EYBL as well. Because, again, if you have leaguers, that's going to bring high-level D1 coaches. It's good for your thing.
Your program.
It makes it's common sense. They're paying to come and see these kids. So, it's winning I would say winning plays a small part. So, yeah, if you're winning in the gauntlet, that's good. I think that's only good for bragging rights, right? Like you could come back here and brag that we won. Like for if you want to get future kids, like listen,
right.
This is what we're doing. You go on social media, post all that stuff. But the truth is, if I'm doing Washington, like Scarlett just posted it, Scarlett just posted a picture in her chat group. I'm posting a picture of Dwayne Washington with Josh Primo, who just got drafted.
Yeah.
Right? I'm posting a picture of Dwayne Washington with let's say AJ Lawson, or with Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, or with RJ Barrett, right? That's what I'm thinking. Because this is what kids want to get to. So, I think ultimately you want to get to the NBA. You want to get that D1 scholarship and get to the NBA. So, yeah, I think if you're going by that, it's like, because to me it's a no-brainer. When kids say to me, I want to go to the NBA, I'm first of all looking at how good you are, and I'm like, okay, what's the best place to put you in that position to get you to the NBA, right? So if I have kids that I think could play, I might reach out to Tony Mack at AI. AI, there's like 5 or 6 guys that went to AI down in the league. That's not rocket science, man. If I think you can play there, I'll reach out to, Jesse Tipping, Tony Mack. Listen, take a look at this kid. Let me know what you think. If you like him, take him. If not, no problem. Right? If I think he could potentially play there, that's it. If AAU, I'm like, listen, I was talking to Scarlett, can reach out to Dwayne. I got potentially 2 kids that I think could go, right?
Yeah. Take
a look at them. So, it's the kids say this is where they want to go, irregardless of how you feel about it. It's what's going to put this kid in the best position to get them there.
But not everyone O'Neil has that mindset. That's the problem.
Yeah. But you know what the thing too is, when I developed that mindset when I just realized, don't make things personal. Just keep it business and try not to make it personal. Think about business, and when you operate from that perspective, then everything is fine. But when you make things personal, because I'm sensitive, people are sensitive, and sometimes your feelings get hurt. But you got to understand: is this more about you, or is this more for what's better for the kid?
The kid.
Well, I think what happens, it depends on on what's at stake for you. Like the people that take it personal, I understand.
Yeah.
Because some of them, it's actually, like, I hate to say it, their livelihood. Like, they live off of these kids, right? So if they lose, especially the ones that are on a sneaker deal or potentially on one or fighting for one, like, they lose a blue chip player. Like, no, like, let's call a spade again. Like, if Elijah Fisher went to UPlay, like, grassroots is done, finished. Like, no offense. I mean, it's called spade. You know, I know I'm calling names out, but I mean,
that's exactly what it is.
He's the show pony for that program. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes it's a livelihood, right? You know, everyone got their kind of players. Some it's a little bit more on a lower level, some it's on a higher level, but everyone relies on this as their livelihood, right? And you gotta retain those players to a certain extent, right? To keep your program going and to keep your deals going, right? Because if you don't got any show pony, they're gonna be like, "Yo, I'm gonna find someone else who's gonna get it from you."
Exactly.
But I think at the end of the day, it is, you know, I mean, even when our generation, where it was like, you know, it was all primarily the big camps and stuff, it's really just about the exposure for the kids, right? So I would say it's probably that more than anything. Like I remember it's years ago, a long time ago, but when like a camp that I was at, I remember we lost every game. Lost every single game. Like every game. We got half the times we was getting blown out, but I got a chance to play in one of the, like in the top 20 game. You know what I mean? Because of you just show it out during that time. You know what I mean? So it's like if you have your fundamentals and you got your good skills and your good habits and stuff, like the winning is like, it's kind of secondary. You know what I mean? So I guess it's kind of like now with the AAU being so dominant and strong, like I think it's kind of like the same moral of the story. I think it's about the kids at the end of the day and how much success you can have with, you know, building your program to have guys, you know, keep continuing knocking on the doors of D1 scholarships, getting the scholarships, and then, you know, God willing, now they're in the league. They're like a Primo now. They're like in the league, or, you know, like a Jamal Murray, and they're signing a $170 million contract with shoe deals and all this stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like, at the end of the day, it's just about the exposure for the kids. I mean, you want to win. I think, you know, obviously winning is like a drug. You still want to win. That's still the best thing. But it's like if you know, I think it's kind of like the combination of both. You can't catch feelings if you know you lose, or you lose every game. Did your kids show out in every game? Is probably like the best thing. Like,
and I think you know, I'm always a competitor at heart. So you know, I always believe that all the programs here should just play each other, right? Like, you know,
that'd be good.
And this is just the competitor in me, right? Yeah. Like this is just my ego. Like I know when I coach, you know, when I was coaching my North Toronto team, you know, I wanted my North Toronto because we won the CYBL and we beat up on Ottawa Elite. We beat Ottawa Elite. We beat Brookwood Elite. We beat, you know, we won it. We beat Bounce. We won the CYBL. And you know, for me, like as a competitor, it's like, yeah, you know, I want to see how my guys stack up against your guys. I want to see how good your team is. It's about bragging rights. No different as if you're a player, right? I know.
But listen, I agree with you. But there's some complexity to some of these sneaker circuits, right? Because the way I look at it is like this. I'm talking if I was in a position like a UPlay or like a Canada League. I don't give a shit what you do with EYBL. CYBL. You can play in little CYBL. You can play in your little, you know, signature league. Go play in those leagues. I'm taking the best players in those leagues, and I'm going down south.
Exactly.
Because if a Brookwood is in one of those tournaments, you ain't got it, bro. You don't got it, bro. You ain't got it, bro.
I agree, and that's what I'm saying. Like I
don't got it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, for me as a competitor, as a coach, I want to play. So I want a tournament where I want to see how my guys stack up against the UPlay. UPlay 17U Bounce, whatever. So whatever age group I'm coaching, I want to see how my guys stack up against that age group from Bounce, from Grassroots, from UPlay, from Northern Kings. I want to see, because Northern Kings, our only loss was to Northern Kings. And again, they use sometimes they use the CYBL just to get guys played together. Because you know, you're bringing guys from all over the place, you know, and you want to get some games under your belt, right? So I know our only loss in the CYBL was the Northern Kings, and we never, but we never saw them again. And so, but I know for me, that's where my competitive nature would come in to say, okay, well, let's settle this. Let's have just have a tournament with, not just the four shoe company, but just let's have a tournament. Let's have a tournament. I know the CNIT tried to do that, that was MPH, they try to do something like that where they have all the prep programs. So yeah, stuff like that. I would love to see it. When the shoe circuit is done, I would love to see some of the teams in the CNIT. It would be even better. So then there's a tournament where you could go up against all the top prep programs, for bragging rights. But that's just me, right? And Scarlett, I had a conversation with Scarlett, and Scarlett pointed out, and kind of like that, like, we don't need to. We're good. We get our guys exposure, and that's it. We're not necessarily around for that. For some people, they want us, like me, like, yeah, let's have all the teams play, all the organizations play against each other. It would definitely be great for the city, great for the kids, because kids talk already, right? They're on social media, and they're talking ish amongst each other. But again, it's neither here nor there. But to answer your original question, I mean, EYBL to me is, I don't care what anybody says. I've seen the gauntlet. I've seen AAU. I mean, I keep saying AAU, Under Armour, and I've seen EYBL. EYBL is the best, man. The energy, the atmosphere, from the players to, you can get you're seeing the head coaches are at EYBL. The head coaches. Like you're bumping into Patrick Ewing, or you're bumping into Jim Boeheim, or you're bumping
Mark
into
Few or whoever.
Mark Few. Yeah, like Mark Few. I played in the WCC, so I remember I said hi, I yelled him up. I am like, hey, Mark. He looked at me, didn't remember me. I was like, I should have said I was the guy that dropped, 20 on you when you called Team USA, but I didn't. But yeah, you're running into these coaches. That's what you're running into at the EYBL. Everywhere else, you might run into the assistant coach or the third coach, right? But the EYBL, you're running into head coaches. You're bumping, and then you're sitting beside Scottie Pippen, or you're sitting beside LeBron, or you're sitting beside Shaq, because the Suns are playing.
The Suns are playing,
Kenyon Martin. So the EYBL is definitely where you go. And from the EYBL, you're going to get a Nike Hoop Summit. I know the Adidas had their World Games. I don't know if they still do that. You have Basketball Without Borders. And again, part of it, though, is being connected with the right shoe. If you're connected with EYBL, your name could be put forward, or unless you're big time, unless you're really, maybe like Elijah, your name's really out there, then even though you're not part of Nike, maybe you still get into the Nike.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where you are at that
or you get into the Basketball Without Borders. But those are things you want to get into. Nike Hoop Summit, Basketball Without Borders, because that's where all the NBA scouts and GMs, and now they're seeing you against your contemporaries, right? Or even better yet, making the U15 or the U17 or U19. Because now you're really playing against competition, and then you're going up against US, and so you can make your name there as well. So if we're talking AAU, I would go EYBL, and it's I think it's more important that you're playing for a program that's going to get you exposure to even if you're losing, because EYBL, you playing Bounce when they never had with the 17U, they never had winning records, but they had when Bounce had Ignis and Simi and Quincy and whoever, right? And Uplay had whoever. It doesn't matter what your record was, you just had pro guys.
Yeah, those guys.
So they didn't care. I always thought the record was important, but it wasn't, right? And Scott, like, don't worry about the record. It's just, who are you showcasing? Who are you putting in front of these guys? How many of these guys can go pro? And that's what it was about.
Now, let me ask you guys too, because obviously, being in Toronto, obviously COVID, like basically, there was no season for high school basketball, in this city last year or this past year, what have you, right? And we know it had a devastating effect on like seniors, coming into, going into their last year, trying to get looks, trying to play in these big tournaments, trying to travel, across the border and play in tournaments and be, have that exposure and that stuff. Do you think and I guess I'm curious to kind of ask both of you guys this, like, seeing that we're on this topic of youth basketball, do you think like this one season of like not having basketball, do you think it has it could potentially have a ripple effect like for the future of like Canadian ball, or do you think it's just like a hiccup and it just keeps
it definitely has a hiccup, man. Like we're seeing and we're seeing now colleges bringing back players for their 5th year that haven't redshirted, right? Yeah. Which in turn has taken spots away from seniors this year, which in turn has taken spots away from grade 11. The whole reclass thing is gonna be all over the place. Yeah, kids going into the draft that are gonna be like 23 now, right? It's just it's caused a major ripple effect, and furthermore, it's caused not even just in the U.S. but in Canada's perspective, it's caused a ripple effect in development. I find because now you have kids that haven't played a real game in 2 years. Think about it, right? Yeah. 2 years, right? Kids were going down south this past live period, tearing Achilles, I'm hearing, ACLs, kids were out of shape, kids were getting their asses busted. It's
one of my players, better. Yeah, the same player I was talking about that, our best player, he blew out his AC.
Oh, jeez.
There you go, right? Yeah, so, a bunch of kids blew out the AC, Achilles. It's because they haven't played ball competitive at that level. And 9 times out of 10, the crop that we have coming up, if they were playing full go, they would have had, I think, all major programs, Brookwood, Canada Elite, Grassroots, you play got away a little bit because most of the players play in the U.S., so they kind of were in that flow. Yeah. But the rest of them could have, that were playing in Canada, would have showed out.
Yep.
And kudos to Canada Elite because they actually were able to continue some of that work. Northern teams too, so they didn't do as bad in certain levels. But poor Grassroots, right? Everyone thought, they had a squad that could have potentially pushed to even win the whole circuit, and they didn't do that well because they just weren't playing.
In activity,
yeah. It's. I think it's affecting 2021s, and I think it's going to affect 2022s. I know I told my guys, just you got to come back for those guys who want the D1 or even CIS. I'm like, you might have to come back for your 5th year, just because guys are coming back, and coaches, even here at CIS, coaches are talking about having rosters of 20 guys, right?
Wow.
And so I know guys from my team that are solid CIS basketball, that will be solid CIS basketball players. The coach is like, we like them, but they're going to probably be in the development. We probably won't see them till their 2nd, 3rd year.
Wow.
Because they have a lot of guys, man. Now, who knows? Maybe it might be sooner, depending on how hard they work. Guys, might lose interest. I've been coaching long enough to see that. What your team starts off in September is not the team that you have in March. And, guys, especially at college and, university.
Yeah.
Things
especially
happen.
College.
Especially college, yeah. Guys, guys don't do what they're supposed to do. It could be injury, heaven forbid. So, things happen. So who knows? But yeah, it's definitely affecting guys 2021 and 2022. Because again, especially for the 2022, this was their last year to be seen. And they have, next year you have up until like April, right? I know you have up until April, and after April, that's it. So, but you really, you tell guys, if you're not getting anything now and going into the season, if you're coming to the end of the season and you don't have anything, you're probably not going to get anything. So,
right.
But definitely, that's definitely the ripple effect and school. And here's the thing too, in talking, I was working with Steph Smith when he entered the transfer portal. He did his 4 years at Vermont.
Yeah.
And he's at St. John's now, but in speaking to the coaches, myself and my training partners, Patrick and Kevin Masai, we're helping him with the process and just talking to the coaches. We would have a conversation with the coaches, and a lot of the players they're looking for, like they're looking for junior college players. They're looking for guys who've been playing,
they've been playing
sophomores, juniors. So yeah, that's what they're looking to give their scholarships to. Not even so much freshmen. So it's tough, man. It's tough.
Yeah, that ripple effect is hard, man. It kind of reminds me of like the Marvel, with the Infinity Stones, and it goes and it just the ripple effects and it goes sideways and all these alternate universe. That's what it feels like. This whole thing has happened with with them having the lost season. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, but the interesting thing that comes into play, and it makes me kind of ponder. I mean, and I can kind of vouch for it. People don't realize there's levels to D1, right? And me as I'm going to University of Maine. I mean, come on, I can guarantee my freshman year, Carlton could have beat us by 80. You know what I mean? So, it's good to say you've done it, but at times you think, is it worth it?
Yeah.
Right? So looking at this whole perspective, does the holdover make CIS or whatever they call it, esports, stronger now? Because more players are going to go play for play. Like, there's opportunities out here as well. I just think the perception is it's always better south of the border.
Right.
Yeah. I think, I think, like I'm always assessing my guys, and my belief is this: if you could play, you want to play as a competitor, you want to play against the best of the best, and you have some borderline guys that are like low D1, maybe, or they could be like really stars at the CIS level, right? I'm not gonna, that's like saying RJ Barrett or Andrew Wiggins should play CIS. Right, we're not saying that obviously because those guys.
No.
Exactly.
There's levels to it. If you
exactly.
Go. Like if you're a friend.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Like why go play D2 at this point?
Yeah.
You might as well just stay and go CIS because most players are back in Canada anyway. As soon as we finish, the experience is great, but you're going to get a good experience. Yeah. You played at the CIS level. I mean. It may not be always translates to the same experience, but at the end of the day, it depends, right? Like, what you're trying to get out of it. Ultimately, you're trying to get a degree.
Yes. And it depends what, and part of it, too, comes into financial, right? Like, D2 schools gives out scholarship, free education. So I think a lot of times D1 is free education, D2 is free education, D3 not so much.
Yeah.
Junior college, it's free. I didn't pay. Depending on junior college you go to. So that plays a factor into it. If you could pay for school, that plays a huge factor into it.
Yeah.
When I say to players, if they're fringe or not, I'm like, yeah, you're not D1. Because what I've come to realize too, you have guys that have D1 bodies, athleticism, height, but they don't have D1 mentality. So I'm like, yo, you need to go play CIS. Right? You don't work hard enough, you're not a dog. You're mentally weak. You go down there, you're gonna, because if I'm yelling at you, and you're folding, you're done. Because I'm a cupcake compared to these coaches down there. So, and also D1 mentality is just your work ethic. How much are you, And then there's guys who don't have D1 bodies and athleticism, but they have D1 mentality, right? Because they're willing to grind and work hard. So I assess the guy, and I'm like. And again, can you pay for it? So I'm like, if you're a CIS guy and you can't afford it, then you need to go to CIS in Alberta or CIS in Halifax because they'll give you money. They've always given, outside of Ontario, all the universities in Canada give you money and they pay for your education and they hook you up. Like Alberta, like 2 of our guys from Oakwood went to Alberta and they're good. They're loving it out there. They're gods out there. When they graduate, they're gonna have great jobs out there. You're out in BC, wherever. Just get out, so part of it too is the money. But as much as we want Canadian kids to stay, some of these kids can't afford it, man. These kids are coming, like I was so happy we have a kid, Dewan Williams, Jane Pond Finch kid, right? And, cornrows, coming in grade 9, little dickhead. And, by the time he leaves, and he's at Alberta, the cornrows are gone. He's wearing glasses. I'm like, who the fuck is this kid? Right? He's mature. He's grown up. You know what I mean? And he's graduated with a degree. And those are stuff that you love. So I totally agree, right? There's players that, go play CIS and get that, and then there's players that could play D1. And I think the problem is, though, selling D1 to guys that are not D1, right? And making them think that that's the only option. Is like, I'm honest with my guys. I'm like, you're not D1, man. I tell my guys that. I don't lie to them. I'm like, you're not D1. You might be quick enough, have athleticism, but you don't have a D1 mentality. You don't work hard enough. You don't commit yourself to the game. So play CIS, and you could dominate CIS. You could play CIS and get a pro contract. I love what the CEBL is doing. They're taking, a couple, CIS players from the team and putting them on the and playing with pros. So now when that only elevates the level of the CIS, because now when these guys go back to the respective universities, now they're playing at a higher level now, and that's going to attract, because that's going to attract.
They can go back and play for university.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh damn! Know that.
That's what they did. Yeah, that's
a good look.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's great. You have CIS players playing against pro guys, right? And it's great. They get a taste of what pro is, but it's great for their raising their confidence in the level of the game. And when your game is raised, people have to come up there, right? So now, like you're saying, some of our better players might stick around and say, you know what, I could go to the States. I could stay here. Now, me personally, now you're in Maine. I don't know where you're in, Bangor, Maine?
Yeah.
No wonder you didn't like D1. But, there's also the experience of that. I think outside, college, the truth is, wherever you go, if you go to, as long as you go away from home, I think if you're from Toronto, I would say go to a university outside of, even if it's just in Brock University, just go away from home. Like, don't go to university that's in your hometown, because you have you enjoy college more when you're away from home. And so, I know, so I would definitely tell guys, if you're a CIS guy, I'm like, play CIS, man. You're still gonna have a great experience. Try to go away from home though, right? Like, try to go away to
just so you can build that life experience.
Yeah, get away from mom and dad, and just go enjoy yourself, and have fun in college and whatnot. All the great stuff that comes from college. So I definitely push CIS, right? But I don't. I'm not gonna see a guy that could play mid-major D1 and tell him to go CIS. No, go play mid-major. And we all know too, there's growth that happens physically, mentally, and emotionally.
Right.
And so when you're growing in college, you might turn into a different player just because you're growing into your body, getting more coordinated, and then you're putting on strength, and your game, it just completely changes your game. So, there's a lot of those factors go into it too, right? And I've seen it the other way around. I've seen players that don't go D1 and that end up going to CIS universities, and the coach doesn't know what to do with them. In fact, the coach because the coach doesn't want them to leave, allows them to do whatever they want. And there's no growth in their game, because now nobody's holding them accountable. Nobody's telling them, they can miss practice whenever they want. Like, I've seen that. Like, I've seen it with players when I was at Ryerson. I've seen it with players that were at other universities that coming on. I'm talking, this kid's, like, when he told me he's going to this school, I'm like, oh, you're going to destroy the CIS. You're going to be a monster. And then I see this kid playing, and he's just like, he was like Lenny Cook, just that's what he wants. He could do whatever he wants, whenever he wanted to, tell the coach to shut up, and then there was no growth in his game. So, it's part of it is the player ready to play CIS, or is the player good enough to play D1? Should he stay CIS? And then, like anywhere else too, you got to go to the right program and play for the right coach.
I think that's the biggest thing.
And I tell people this all the time. I'm like, I've seen kids play CIS and kids from Toronto go play, and these coaches bench. I'm like, you're sitting on the bench? And I'm seeing the kids, I'm like, what? And it blows my mind. Like, the coach is an idiot. The coach is just a complete fucking idiot. And there's idiots, whether it's D1, CS, there's idiot coaches out there. And you fucking make this shit harder than it needs to be. And they come with their pre-notion that this is, and just make the game hard. And instead of, seeing a kid and recognize what his potential is and getting that potential out of the kid, they'll bench that kid, or they'll enable that kid, don't know how to use the kid. So it's all about the kid. It's all about where his level's at. But, it's what's the right fit. What is the right fit for this kid? And D1 is not for everybody, man. It's not for everybody. Everybody wants D1 because they see it on TV and it looks good. But what are you doing to get D1? I tell that to, one kid I'm coaching. I'm like, yeah, you have the talent, but you don't put in the work to be. So what happens when you get to D1? What now? Because you're going to have to, dude, listen, man.
Yeah, you got to work.
Because I truly believe because I played Division I basketball and I never felt, before I've never felt the kind of pressure that I was under, the intense pressure that I was under playing Division I basketball. And so now life to me, what people consider pressure situations, I'm laughing. People are like, why are you so calm? I'm like, it just doesn't, like, I've never felt anything equal to playing Division I because these coaches' jobs are on the line. And my coach he's the director of scouting now with the Chicago Bulls, but he was a fucking psychopath. Just under constant pressure. And, and
that energy gets transported right to the kids.
Exactly. And so I really honestly look at guys, I'm like, you're not going to be able to handle what's waiting for you. So yeah, you want D1. It's like, again, everybody wants to win or everybody wants to be a millionaire, but what are you going to do? What are you willing to do to get there and do it? It's one of those things that sounds good, right? It sounds good. I want a D1 scholarship. It's like a reflex answer, right? Okay. And as long as you're not promising kids and lying to them and honest with them, and I agree with you. There's nothing wrong with CIS. And CIS is definitely a lot better now than because I know what Calgary came up and played us when I was at St. Mary's, and we gave them 50 in the first half. I remember my teammates like, this is what basketball's like in Canada? I'm like, no, maybe this school sucks, but no.
It's different now. Now, I want to wrap up, but we probably have to come back and do this again because I want to talk about like Team Canada and all this stuff. So we'll come back maybe later this month and have this conversation. But I kind of want to wrap this up by, like I said, I've said my comments last week on Game 6 Giannis. Because everything that's going on right now, that's just kind of getting chucked to the wayside, and I don't think we should forget it. Just quickly, I just want to hear you guys' thoughts on Game 6 Giannis. I haven't really said a lot today. I kind of like it. It's not bad.
Giannis had that's an all-time historic performance in the game. Like to wrap up an NBA chip, like my man put it on the line. Giannis takes a lot of criticism for like his flaws, but I don't think people realize his greatness and what he did. My man went to work that game and willed that win, and he did everything, like defensively, offensively. I think he even hit some free throws. I can't remember. It was a while back, but my man went to work. Like he had an all-time like NBA performance. Like it was hard to stop a dude that plays at that level. And you can say whatever you want, but like I think we were in another chat where one of our boys from Miami was like, he got no skill. He was like, what are you smoking, man? Like my man won a chip and deserves it. It's like, yo, there was no asterisk to that. He went out there and he balled his ass out against a very good team that was favored to win. Right? And that's basically what I gotta say. He deserves it.
Yeah, man, I'm so happy for him. I don't understand. The one thing Giannis can't do is shoot. So I understand when he has no skill. He can't shoot. Just because you can't shoot doesn't. You can do other things. Like guys can handle the rock. They're skilled to handle the rock, and Giannis could handle the rock. My thing was always they weren't. I always thought that and it's sort of the same thing with Pascal. Was like you've tried pushing the ball full court. It works during the regular season, but in a playoff now when teams are sitting back and forcing you to shoot, it doesn't work. Here's what does work. What Giannis started to doing in the later games. Catching the ball, not bringing the ball up, let Drew Holiday or whoever brings the ball up, but then catching the ball at the free throw line, catching the ball at the elbow, catching the ball closer to the basket. Now you're sort of like a post player, and then now when you see the double team coming, it's easier to kick. Right? So I just loved the Mamba mentality that he had. I love is that he's humble. He's just humble. I love when you see guys try to elbow him, try to shove him and do everything, and he just ignores them. Fans counting, he just ignores them. and at least he doesn't show that it bothers him. He probably he's processing it, but he's not giving away that it bothers him. And I just love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love everything about Giannis. I love his story. And I think what people don't realize, I heard his story a couple of years ago, and I think what people don't realize is, and it's really a true American story, right? Like a guy who was setting CDs on the streets.
Yeah.
Like, think about where this guy's coming from, right? And I'm like, yeah, of course this guy's going to get it done, because he was at the lowest of the lows. There's days they were talking about, like, that their family would go basically without eating.
Mm-hmm. Selling CDs.
Yeah. So everything from there is gravy, man. So this guy has, he knows, he's already humble. He knows what it's like to have nothing. You still hear stories about kids here in America who come from tough situation, but I don't think any of them are selling CDs, right? I don't think they're selling CDs. Like, I know Iverson's mom one time, she had to choose between paying the light bill or buying Iverson basketball shoes. She bought him basketball shoes. But I know these kids are not selling CDs, hustling CDs. One, it's hard to do, but I just love everything about Giannis. I thought Game 5 was amazing. 50 points, 5 blocks, rebounding. Just, that's what you're supposed to do. I always say, if your best player is your hardest worker, you're always going to be successful. Nobody's ever going to talk me out of that, because I've seen it over and over and over again. The teams that are successful, when your best player is your hardest worker, you're going to be successful. And I wanted Chris Paul, if I'm honest, more so than Giannis, because I know Giannis is 26 and he'll have it. But Chris Paul always being hurt, the ultimate competitor, and just never getting over that hump. And unfortunately, now Chris Paul is our modern day Karl Malone, John Stockton, Charles Barkley.
Yeah, right? it is what it is. It is what it is at this point.
He's not winning a ring. He's not, at least not as a player. And so, and I firmly believe that I don't think he's gonna. The window's closed. Like, Phoenix is not winning it next year. Yeah. You know what I mean?
No.
Yeah. And so, what happens now? And so, I really wanted Chris Paul to win, but I love the fact that what Giannis did. I think he's everything. Everything that's great with basketball. He's sort of a throwback. He stayed with the same team. He just worked hard, and he just kept persevering. And that's my favorite character trait. Is perseverance. I think it speaks to the human spirit more than anything else. And I love the story of people who just persevere and just keep going and not listen to the naysayers and not give in to the failures and not give up and just figure it out. And so I love what Giannis did game 6. I thought it was amazing. And I'm a big fan. I definitely, obviously, when you see those losses, like, you get frustrated. I know I did. I'm like, especially somebody who loves shooting, who loves teaching shooting. And I'm like, dude, how is nobody just making the minor adjustment? Because when he starts his free throw, his elbow's literally out here, and then he's coming this, and when you shoot, your shot should be as quiet as possible. It should just be up, boom. But there's so much movement in his shot, it throws his elbow off, and his elbow's kicking, and it's throwing his shot off. I'm like, how is nobody just recognizing, like, just getting his elbow, let him start his elbow lineup and just straight up?
And he had what's his name? He had Koiver trying to teach him too at one point. Yeah, I'm like, how do people not figure? And maybe it's just one thing I learned working with Patrick Williams is your body as well, because maybe his left side, there's a problem with his left side that's causing the imbalance, and a lot of times that's what's happening. There's a certain part of your body that's affecting. Like, sometimes you can't get your right shoulder up because your left lats is tight or off. So I learned a lot from Patrick. So maybe that's and Giannis, technically he's a lot bigger than so maybe there's there's tightness somewhere in his body that's
you got to get loose in some areas.
Yeah, throwing his alignment off and throwing his shot off. But other than that, I always loved Giannis because he just plays hard. He plays hard.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, like, for me, it's just to, I guess, to wrap it up, like, it's Game 6 Giannis. I think that's forever going to go in the lexicon, right? Like, you know, like it just is what it is. Like I was telling Randall before, like there wasn't any team I was really rooting for. I was just happy I just wanted to see good basketball. I was happy if either side won. I love the story for both sides, you know, but like after what Giannis did, it's like, yo, you can't, number one, he's a champion. You can't say anything anymore, you know? And then two, the way he did it, like how do you have anything negative to say after what he did? Like, just again, he can't shoot threes. Okay, leave it alone now. He just look what he just did. Leave it alone. Yeah, like that talk is like forever done. It's over. It's over. Like, he won. Yeah, you can't take it away. It's over.
And I love how you said, I don't care if we ever win again. We did it the hard way, and it's worth it. I just, you know, I don't care if I don't win a championship ever again. This was so gratifying that, you know what, we worked so hard. And we pushed through and persevered, and we won a championship. And I'm just saying, he could never win a championship ever again. Game 6 will go down as one of the best, one of the greatest playoff performances, and he's an NBA champion.
No, that's it. And I think the underrated MVP is PJ Tucker for coming up with the Greek Freak threes before Greek Freak even had him. you guys need to see that clip. But on that note, we're gonna wrap it up. Are you
talking the one with the diamonds?
No, he had the new Greek Freak threes. He came into the locker room with them on, and like, he's holding him. He walked past Greek Freak, and Giannis is like, "Yo, where'd you get those?" He's like, "I don't even have those. Those are my shoes." Yo, PJ Tucker's unbelievable with the shoe game, man. But we're gonna wrap this up though. Yeah. But thank you both, man, for having this extensive conversation. A shout out to Randall for putting this. Put the battery in my back a little bit. I wanted to talk about a little AAU stuff. So, and I've been meaning to have this conversation for the longest time too. Yeah. So this is kind of like a reminder. So thank you, Randall, for the reminder. Yeah, man. So like I said, I want to talk about Team Canada. Like we'll come back and do this again.
Definitely.
No doubt.
Yeah, I definitely have a lot to say about that.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Thank you for checking out the latest episode of the Ave Podcast. Shout out to O'Neil Kamaka and Randall Walter for coming on the Ave and taking us behind the curtain just a little bit in the world of AAU and how the landscape has changed in the COVID era. Like I said earlier, we'll be back again in a few weeks to break down Team Canada, which, especially after watching the Olympics, it's inspired a conversation. Let's just say that. We'll be back next week with a new episode. Please go ahead and like, rate, review, and subscribe to all shows on South Shore Ave Radio on all platforms. And check out any and all of my past shows from my catalog. Head over to southshoreave.com right now and check it all out. All right, from my very, very first show until right now, until the last one. All right, once again, that's southshoreave.com. For O'Neil Kamaka and Randall Walter, this is Cal C. And you just tuned in to the Ave Podcast on South Shore Ave Radio. All right, till next time, folks. Peace. We out.